Alright, we did it. Finally. Episode number 10. Double digits. And my camera isn't working, apparently. I don't think. Maybe? I'll find out in a second. And all I really want to know is, where are my goddamn DMs? Huh? I've had an Instagram page up for this thing for the last 10 weeks, aka 2.5 months, and I've gotten one from a fake account soliciting fucking pics. Whatever. So, yeah, this one's gonna be kind of short. Just gonna be a lot of posts, a lot of post-apocalypse for you guys. To be honest, I've been, feeling like shit lately, and that's not like a reaction to our own global and national situations, which are horrible on their own. But I mean, I've never really been that affected by things that are going on outside of me. I don't feel. Let me take all that back. I don't. World events don't despair me, if that makes sense. But I'm also not. That being said, I'm also not going to be one of these people who are like, oh, I don't have an opinion. I'm not going to be involved or anything like that. Which, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I do have my own opinions. I'm not big on running around in the street, which also, like I said, I've been feeling like shit this last week, mostly because my back's been acting up. I know this obviously pales in comparison to other people's problems right now, but before my last year of high school, I popped a disc in my back, which is pretty painful normally, but this was towards the bottom, and it was like it's right where the nerves start to spread out into your legs. So, aside from being painful, it also affects my I have mobility issues, basically, whenever it flares up. And I mean, I can do like some yoga and stuff, and then I actually just had one of those burping. I had one of those curved backrests things come in today, where it's like the adjustable one, and you sort of lay back on it, and it forms to your arch, and there's like little fake acupuncture things on this one, and that helps, but it's temporary, and my problem's in the nerves, so it's not going to go away anytime soon. And it also doesn't help that I can't get my regular exercise like I used to, but that's going to be changing eventually here. I got some equipment coming in, which again, none of this is to take away from other things going on in the world. And being that I'm in Los Angeles, I'm kind of right in the middle of all these protests and lootings now. So until now, everything was mostly in central Los Angeles, but yeah, now I tried working last night doing deliveries and stuff, and over in Glendale, which also, yes, I heard this on another podcast too, which is kind of another just like bad coincidences that today, or not today, but yesterday, a couple days ago, this weekend was when things were supposed to be, finally opening up, especially for small stores, and then now all of a sudden, they have to deal with people, busting their, stealing shit, basically. Which, and, I'm not saying anything new here, but obviously, loot rioting and protesting are not the same thing. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people, especially people who should know better, that can't seem to tell the difference. But anyways, I'm not really in a position to get caught up in a lot of that, but I do have this, so I can talk about things. And also, I'll do the episode post for this later. If you guys use Instagram to actually see whenever my episodes go live, since everybody's doing like a whole social media blackout. So, and I don't really have I don't have a graphic ready anyway. So yeah. In the meantime, Black Lives Matter. That's what's important right now. But we're still doing this too. Alright, double digits. Finally did it. That's the only thing that's really different. Unfortunately. But yeah, episode number 10. I probably shouldn't be wasting my breath on it, since I'm going to be doing the intro to this episode later. But here we are. Another day, another episode. This one is going to be a lot more post-apocalypse heavy than previously. Just because, there's a lot of news. And speaking of which, I might as well go ahead and start out with this. So I'm sure everybody knows by now about the whole situation going on in Minneapolis with the latest police killing of an unarmed black person. And all the different aspects of this story and subsequent events. I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, but anyways, all this has been, covered by plenty of other people, much better than I'm gonna do anytime. So I'm not gonna, get too much into it. But I think it's safe to say that, I don't, personally, I don't condone killing of anybody for any reason, really. I mean, there's very few good reasons to kill. There isn't really any, but I mean, I get if it's a a defending yourself issue or something like that, but really there's just very few. And I guess one thing that I would have to input is, I do work part-time as a security guard, and now I'm lucky that I work with the crew that I work with is pretty level-headed, and never manages to we have a pretty good track record. The only real complaints against our venue are usually from people who are trying to stretch the truth quite a bit, or I guess game the system. But the point that I'm trying to make is, it's very easy to just like see people the outside as an enemy, basically, and that's a big problem that we have with the police forces involved. Fuck, I'm just rambling without talking. I sound discombobulated, but yeah, no, a big problem that we're apparently having with the modern police force in all the different states or whatever is, that's how they're trained. And all right, how do I say this without sounding like a complete moron? A lot of it's come out that a lot of police training is what's called warrior training, which is basically involves like weapons training and enemy subduing and conflict escalation with very very little time spent on conflict de-escalation, which I think which is interesting because whenever you undergo training for security, it's basically the opposite of that. Primarily because it doesn't involve any sort of a weapons training at all, and at least where I work at, it's unarmed. So, but the point being is, so it's very easy to see whenever you're like part of a police force or a security force or really the military even. It's very easy to see other people as the enemy, which if you're in the military, that's the point, that's the job. But if you're in the police, that's not the case. The other people around you are your community. That's what you're there for. But I mean that's just been lost. And the real idea is to, at least with security, part of our training is to make those people who would be your enemy or potentially are into your friend, or to get them on your side. The problem that especially within Minneapolis and other recent police killings, and not so recent even, is that instead of making those supposed enemies into your friends, they're attacking them basically. Anyways, so that's what's going on there. And also, I have some friends from back in high school who live in Minneapolis, and I guess I know at least one of them has been attending some of the protests, and hopefully not the riots that have been going on there. He's not the rioting type, but he's definitely the protesting type. And it's starting to look like the LA riots from the what was it, 94, I think. And quite honestly, it is the LA riots. It's literally the same shit's happening in Minneapolis. And I had one friend who used to live in that neighborhood, apparently, where everything's being burned down. He's not there anymore, so he's good. Which brings me to my first article. This one. So I mostly just go over the headlines, but so now this one came out today, actually. Curfews have been ordered for Minneapolis and St. Paul starting 8 p.m. on Friday, which is today. Today's Friday. So, if anybody's listening in Minneapolis, which at this point, you aren't. And by the time this podcast really starts popping off, this is going to be old news. But so that's what's going on there. Let's move on to a little bit of lighter news, which is not at all what this is, but so here in California, I'm sure everybody's heard of, anybody who's seen Austin Powers has heard of the Big Boy chain. Actually, I don't think it's a chain, but it's a restaurant. Think like Denny's or Perkins or something like that. It's a diner, which is made famous by the iconic Big Boy statue, the Big Boy Burger Boy. Well, where I live, ooh, I haven't even started drinking yet. It's pretty early, but I actually have Big Boy. I think it's the Big Boy over by where I live, and they got the big ass statue on the roof of the big boy holding up the burger, as you can see here. And then they got a little one that's kind of, over by the entrance by the parking lot. Well, somebody stole that one, apparently. I guess it wasn't bolted down. It just goes to show that people will take anything that's not, bolted down to the ground. There you go, using the same phrase twice. I need get some new fucking material, huh? I'll deal with that. I don't usually pod this early in the day. I'm usually doing it at night. And I'm not, drinking or smoking or anything like that. Because, I want to use the night for other things. Primarily because I've been recording. I've been doing some recording for my my other YouTube series that's going to be coming out. So, that's in the future. I'm still not going to tell you what it's called yet because technically it doesn't exist yet. But it's in the works. So, if you want to see more of me, there you go. Next article. This one I haven't really looked at. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the why can't I fucking think today? It's too early. In the description of this episode. 7 ways to make money if you've lost your job. Which, I mean, I'm actually in the same boat. That's why I started doing the whole Postmates thing. And I'm sure they even have, well, hell, the picture of the article is a guy with the Uber Eats backpack. So, yeah, doing delivery share, I guess, it's not a bad way to make money. I mean, you got to put the work in, and you're an independent contractor, so you have to deal with taxes yourself. But, it's there. That's what I did. To work for other people. And another related article. This one came out a few days ago. After the whole situation in Minneapolis happened. 75 things white people can do for racial justice. It's a pretty interesting list. A lot of it just has to do with not taking power away from the actual situation, not deflecting, I guess. And well, I'll put it in the comments for this episode, and look it up yourself. Do your own work. All right, next up. Ooh, we got a photo. This one's about Trump. I'll go ahead and put it up right here. It's a PSP form of frontotemporal dementia. So it reads, and I quote, symptoms are stiffness, and awkwardness in gait, as you can see. Poor judgment, loss of empathy, socially inappropriate behavior, lack of inhibition, repetitive compulsive behavior, inability to concentrate or plan, frequent abrupt mood changes, speech difficulties, problems with balance or movement, and memory loss. So, TLDR, Trump's mentally ill. I mean, I didn't need this picture to really tell me that. I'm sure most of you don't either, but, there you go. And, and don't be saying like, oh, is that an official diagnosis? I mean, this guy doesn't go to the doctor. Straight up. The only doctor that he did have, you remember whenever he got elected, was that fucking strung out cokehead doctor or whatever. He's like, oh yeah, he's just fine. I'm not gonna, do your own work. Alright, let's get up a little bit lighter. This next one's from The Onion, who, for those of you who don't know, and actually you should know, The Onion is a satire news thing. So, for the most part, all their articles, I 100%, their articles are not real. That's the point. This one. Tyson promises meat packers who die from coronavirus will not go to waste. So, little Soylent Green humor for all you guys out there. Now that's actually coming all over. So that article actually satirizes the fact that, you know, one place that we've been having, by we I mean all of you, all y'all. One place that's been having a major problem with outbreaks, COVID outbreaks, are different food processing plants. I know even in my home state alone of South Dakota, we've had problems with one of the local, I want to say pork processing plants. They've been having a lot of cases, and well, the problem is, you know, they're not taking the right precautions in, you know, having workers stay home if they get sick and, you know, such like that. I don't know. It's a mess. Let's see. What is this one? Oh. Alright, this one's a few days old, but when will gyms, restaurants, and hair salons reopen? Timeline in 50 states. So, that one's just a little bit more of an informative one. Kind of tells you what's going on in your state right now, or a few days ago. And actually, apparently here in Los Angeles, they are now allowing restaurants and hair salons to reopen without enforced guidelines. Or, well, they have to enforce their own guidelines, but the state isn't mandating that they be shut down or, you know, what have you. Basically, health and safety issues are in their own hands, from what I understand. Which, I mean, you know, if you're worried about, you know, catching infection or accidentally having an outbreak in your business, you know, go ahead and take the precautions. But at the same time, you know, I'm kind of glad to hear about barbershops being reopened, hopefully soon. I'll have to look that up some more. And, you know, you guys can look it up some more too. Do your own work. But, you know, as you can see, if you're watching, I definitely need a haircut as well. I've thought about trying to do it on my own, but why, you know, let someone with experience do it. At least in that case. Plus, people could probably use the money. Next. America is officially in fuckit mode. When doing the right thing is too hard, we give up and let fate run wild. I'll just leave that one there for you. Oh, this is interesting. Finally, something unrelated to the virus and police stuff. This one's off Reddit. It's the lowest form of accommodation in Victorian England, which was the period roughly 1830 to the turn of the century. Victorian England was a place where you could, for the price of a penny, dangle on a rope overnight. And I did have a picture. Where the fuck was it? Yeah, I'll put a picture up here, but basically this is literally where the term hungover came from. So you would go to like some alley or something like that, and they would just have, you know, a bunch of clotheslines strung up in between a couple of buildings, and you would just go, you know, stumble in there, leave a penny or whatever you had, which again, you know, currency was there wasn't a lot going around back then. This was pre-inflation. So, yeah, you just go pay a penny and just lean over a wire. And that is probably very uncomfortable, I imagine. You also got to remember that people back at this time, you know, standard would wear at least 2 or 3 layers. So it wasn't that bad. You didn't even have to worry about. There goes my voice. Still puberty. Still going through puberty. 30 years old and I'm still going through puberty. More than 30, actually. But you got to figure even just like a regular worker is normally wearing like at least an undershirt and some type of coat. Whereas others, would be dressed up a little bit more. So you're talking, undershirt, dressy shirt, maybe like a vest, and then the coat. So you could feasibly lean on a wire overnight like that. I sure as fuck wouldn't want to do it, but if all I could afford was a penny, I'll take it. Probably better than lying on the ground. In a way, but you'd still have to deal with circulation under your armpits. Oh, here, I got a couple. This was a double whammy. It's the last one that I wanted to go over. So, now one thing that's been what am I trying to say? So, I'm sure you guys already know about this, but so Sweden, the country of Sweden, they decide to approach the COVID outbreak and lockdown in a slightly different way by not enforcing social distancing at all. They took a stance of basically like the honor system, like it's up to you to wear a mask. It's up to your business to dictate their own guidelines, whether or not you want to. And the idea being like, hey, maybe we'll reach, herd immunity, and the cases probably won't be that bad. Well, now, it was funny, too, because I had a bit that I was working on this for, the eventual day when open mics start back up. But these articles came out and kind of blew that whole bit out of the water. So the first one is Sweden. This was about like a week or two ago. Sweden becomes country with highest coronavirus death rate per capita. Oops. Second article. Where is it? Son of a bitch. Fucking ads. The price you pay. Sweden struggles with herd immunity experiment. So basically, all of that backfired spectacularly. So much for herd immunity. And yeah, that's karma. Shit, what else have I been doing? So yeah, like I said, I just saved up a bunch of posts for you guys. Rattle them off here in a little bit. Some other things I'm excited about. Finally, goddamn, I'm tired. I ordered a motherfucker. What is it called? Oculus. Yeah. So that should be coming in sometime this week. So that's gonna be fun. Be 3D games and 3D porn for the next few days. And it's not like I got much else to do anyway, so I can't really do a lot of I can't do the dinner shift anymore because we're in curfew all over the place. I can't speak either. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Especially since I am technically an essential worker from what I understand. But at the same time, and I've said it on previous episodes before too, I started doing the Postmates thing with the after stay at home or safe at home. lockdown was really starting to kick off, and I'd been followed by cops a few times. And I mean, fuck. I also talk about it a little bit more. I think it was either still going through puberty. It was either this episode or my my last episode that. Sorry, I'm thirsty too. But especially when it comes to law enforcement, there's just straight up a lot of people that should not be in that profession. And I mean, even I've seen it a lot, even in my other job working as a guard, especially whenever I worked for a different third party company that was one of the ones that worked at a bunch of different venues. You see a lot of people who just like you should not be here, right? And I don't remember if I talked about this already, but yes, I did talk about already that the type of training that law enforcement gets, like just for the regular police, is mostly for it's looking at like the worst of the worst, but they don't really show you how to be. They don't really train you for like the rest of your job. It seems like, and they don't get customer service training hardly anymore. It's just all. I think I remember hearing. I don't remember what state it was. What TV show? I want to say I was watching John Oliver. I believe it was, but they were saying in at least one state. I can't recall off the top of my head which one it was, but I think they have like 8 hours training in whatchamacallit, like community relations and stuff like that, and then it was like 126 in like weapons and tactics, which you're not gonna need that most of the time, but and then he also talked about warrior training as well, which is basically the same thing, which it's a program that teaches mainly law enforcement, but you could probably get into it as a private citizen too, but that's what it's all about, weapons training and combat tactics, and it really instills. I think next episode I want to get more serious with some of this stuff. I'd have to like write some stuff down, but today I'm just sort of skimming the surface on a few things. But the point being is that the type of training that they have drills in and instills a like a real us versus them mentality, which if you're like working in traffic or you're beat cop, that just doesn't apply 90% of the time. And I mean, they have SWAT for that, and they have the National Guard for that. That's not what police is supposed to be. And yes, at the same time, any situation for a police officer could potentially be deadly. But I mean, I have the same thing, at my work too, and I don't have a weapon. In fact, it's required that we don't have weapons, but I could just as easily be in a situation where like somebody manages to sneak a pocket knife into a venue. It's happened before. We've had to deal with that. I've had I had somebody accidentally. I want to say accidentally, like they weren't really thinking about it, but I had an off-duty who had unknowingly tried to sneak his personal gun in with him. Like he just had it in his pocket, and that ended up being a whole deal. especially given the fact that we have our own we have our own dedicated off-duty officers that work at our venue, or my venue, the venue that I work at. I obviously don't own the damn thing. That would be, I wouldn't mind. Well, actually, owning a venue would suck right now, but at any other point in my life, hopefully after this, it would be, owning a venue would be kind of cool. But I mean, I guess it would still be pretty stressful. But yeah. So yeah, I'll just go with that, since I gotta go ahead and edit this shit and put it together. Plus it takes a few hours to upload on YouTube for whatever reason. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Happy double digits. Stay sane and safe and all of that. And I will see you again next week.